We were not created for comfort.
People talk endlessly about purpose.
Why were we created as human beings? Why are we here at all? What is the meaning of life? Most answers drift toward the same soft conclusion: to be happy. I have never believed that. I do not think human beings were placed on this earth to chase happiness.
I think we are here to struggle, to endure, and to learn.
Happiness is not the goal, it is a side effect, and often an overrated one. The obsession with happiness has weakened modern people, especially men, because it teaches them to measure life by how pleasant it feels instead of how meaningful it is. When someone says, "I just want to be happy," I always want to ask why. Why do you believe that laughter, comfort, and ease are the highest purposes of existence?
You already had that. It was called childhood.
Childhood is the season of carefree joy when responsibility is minimal and the world is still soft around the edges.
But childhood ends.
When you become a man or a woman, life does not ask you how happy you feel. Life asks what you are willing to carry. Responsibility replaces innocence. Duty replaces play. And meaning replaces happiness. We are here to do important things. And important things are difficult. They demand effort, sacrifice, frustration, endurance, and pain. That pain is not a flaw in life's design, it is the design.
Pain is what gives weight to purpose.
Without resistance, there is no growth. Without struggle, there is no strength.
The gift of struggle.
I believe we are here to struggle.
I believe we are here to experience pain.
I believe we are here to find out how hard we are to break and how difficult we are to kill.
There is something profoundly human about going through terrible circumstances and surviving them. Coming out the other side scarred, wiser, stronger, and still standing is one of the most extraordinary experiences life has to offer.
Suffering, when understood properly, is not meaningless, it is transformative. Once you truly understand what life is about, you realize something surprising: almost every emotion becomes valuable.
Anger, grief, heartbreak, frustration, longing, these are not enemies.
They are signals.
They are teachers. The only emotional state that is truly dangerous is numbness.
Feeling nothing at all is the real tragedy.
If you're sitting alone at night with a broken heart, at least you're still alive enough to feel it.
Pain means you're engaged with existence. Pain means you care.
Pain means you're still human. That is the essence of being human, not constant pleasure, but full participation in the emotional spectrum of life. History does not belong to the comfortable. Look at history. Why did Genghis Khan wake up and decide to conquer the world? Why did Alexander the Great refuse to stop at the edge of known civilization? Why did Napoleon believe Europe itself could be bent to his will? Do you think they woke up seeking comfort? Do you think they were chasing happiness?
No, they were driven by something deeper, an intrinsic urge to conquer,
To test limits, to expand, to impose order on chaos. That drive exists in human nature. It is not polite. It is not gentle. But it is real. The purpose of life is not to sit still. It is to confront resistance. Why God allows struggle?
If you believe God created humanity, then you must also accept this question: why would God create a world filled with suffering?
The answer is simple and uncomfortable, because without struggle we do not learn. God did not create us to remain ignorant of ourselves. He created us to understand who we are, who others are, and how the world truly works. And real learning always involves pain. No lesson worth remembering comes without cost. There are only two ways to learn in life: the hard way and the harder way.
If you're wise, you may learn the hard way by observing, listening, and humbling yourself.
But in my experience, most people insist on learning the hardest way possible through personal failure, regret, and loss. Pain is not cruelty. Pain is instruction.
Redefining happiness. Modern society has sold a counterfeit version of happiness.
It tells people that happiness is excitement, pleasure, stimulation, and constant positivity. This lie has produced fragile minds and restless souls.
I do not subscribe to society's definition of happy and sad.
In my view, if you are anything less than completely devastated, anything less than paralyzed by grief, you are already a version of happy. Think of it this way: grey is still a version of black. No matter how light the shade, it belongs to the same family. In the same way, unless you are overwhelmed by tragedy, the death of a loved one, catastrophic loss, or soul-crushing trauma, you are already living within the spectrum of happiness.
If you are not crying uncontrollably, frozen in despair, or crushed by unbearable loss, you are functioning.
And functioning is enough. By that definition, I am always happy. Not euphoric, not ecstatic,
but stable,
grounded,
capable.
Chasing happiness as a feeling is one of the greatest mistakes people make, especially men. A man who wakes up every day asking, "Do I feel happy?"
is already on the path to destruction.
That question leads to hedonism, drugs, alcohol, gambling, empty pleasure, and self-indulgence.
I do not care how I feel.
My feelings do not dictate my actions.
I wake up, I work, I fulfill my responsibilities. Whether I feel joy or sadness does not change my discipline.
Emotions are temporary, duty is permanent. Stoicism over sensation. I consider myself a happy person not because I feel good all the time, but because I do not assign excessive importance to my emotions.
If I wake up feeling slightly worse than yesterday, nothing changes. If I wake up feeling slightly better, nothing changes.
I am human. Variations are normal.
When I was broke, I was not unhappy. When I became wealthy, I was not happier.
Money did not change my internal state.
Responsibility did. There is no light without darkness. There is no joy without pain. There is no rainbow without rain. Pleasure always comes with its opposite. Every high creates a low. Every peak is followed by a valley.
Instead of chasing emotional extremes, it's far wiser to adopt a disciplined, stoic mindset, a steady baseline that does not rise or fall dramatically with circumstance.
If I lost everything today, I would remain steady.
If my wealth multiplied tomorrow, I would remain steady.
As long as I am alive, as long as those I love are alive, and as long as God grants me the honor of fulfilling my duties, providing, protecting, and contributing, I am content. That is enough.
The strength to be steady in the storm.
Anyone can remain calm when life is easy.
The true mark of leadership, of maturity, of strength is the ability to remain steady in a storm.
Not hysterical, not anxious, not collapsing. Steady. God rarely explains the details of the journey. He promises the destination, not the turbulence along the way. There are moments in life that will terrify you, moments that make you question your capacity to endure. The danger is not the beginning. Most things start well. Businesses launch with excitement. Relationships begin with passion. Life takes off smoothly. The real challenge lies in the middle. The storm arrives when you are already tired, when you are already frustrated, already stretched thin. That is when doubt whispers, "Do you have what it takes?" Every person will face storms. Rich or poor, male or female, strong or weak. Storms are built into God's design. But you are not unprepared. You have been equipped with guidance, resilience, and an inner voice that can lead you forward even when you cannot see the path.
Your job is not to fix the storm.
Some storms cannot be fixed. And this is especially difficult for men who are raised to solve problems.
When something cannot be solved, pride turns into shame.
Control turns into panic.
But not every storm is your responsibility to end. Some storms exist to shape you.
Storms always pass.
Storms do not ask permission.
They do not announce themselves.
You do not get to choose which storm you face. And yet, every storm that has ever existed has one thing in common: it passed.
No matter
How destructive.
No matter how painful, no matter how hopeless it felt, it passed.
Think of the worst moment of your life, the moment you were sure you would not survive.
How much of it do you remember now? How much of it still controls you? Most of it is already behind you.
In the moment of crisis, the question is not why is this happening?
The question is, can I remain steady?
Because this is not the time to quit. This is not the time to fade. This is not the time to die.
As long as God wakes you up, He's not finished with you.
Every painful season is developing something within you that comfort never could.
Strength is forged in resistance.
Wisdom is earned through endurance.
Hold on.
Believe that the tide will turn.
Winters do not last forever. And when the storm passes, you will discover that you were never created for comfort. You were created to survive,
To learn and to become.